Jordan. All right, man. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. I love getting guests on when I can because I tend to ramble for way too long when I talk by myself. So it's good to have somebody on to bounce ideas back and forth with. Um, I we were chatting before this. I was saying I met you at a powerlifting meet a good few years ago. It was the first one that I did, and then since then I've followed you on Instagram, and I think we have very similar approaches to training people. So I thought it would be good to get you on because most of the people that I work with or put information out for would be people who are kind of beginners or fairly new to the whole training process and trying to help them out. Before we get into it, I just wondered if you could maybe give a bit of background about yourself in terms of what got you into lifting weights as a hobby maybe, and then as a career in terms of like coaching people in personal training.
I started probably back lifting kind of late for most people who started gym, like I was late 22, 23.
Okay, yeah, that is quite late.
Yeah, it is quite late. So I'm only 32 now, so I still have a little bit under my belt to go.
Yeah,
Um, I just started, I think it was just a whole lifestyle change. I was going out, kind of the weekend warrior, 3 days straight on the trot every weekend.
yeah,
I remember it was about 2009. I think the lads rented a house for the summer. Upended myself for the whole summer. Like it was like woke up one morning and I was just wanted to change everything,
mm,
just the absolute fear.
yeah,
I think it was like within the immediate start, like the Tuesday, I think after recovery, I went with my best mate to the gym up in Kimmage, Carlisle, and kind of started there. I was kind of like guided around. Um, Hard to learn, you're being with a best mate kind of training. It's hard to learn off them. It's just kind of copying everything they're doing.
yeah,
Eventually, it was about a year of that probably plodding along, and then it was my next door neighbour who actually saw me one day and told me about Crumlin College opening, having an open day for kind of a fitness instructing degree or qualification and go on to personal training. I thought like wouldn't be for me, like the funds and stuff, but
yeah.
he mentioned about a mature student kind of thing. So I went in, had a meeting. There was only like three spaces out of like 30 for mature students. Just poured me heart out to them about everything. Wanted to start. Had a bit of passion for it. It was about a year, yeah, about of just solid training before I got kind of really into it. Started like doing my own kind of readings on the internet, making up programs, and then it was when I started actually making progress and actually got accepted into the college. And started learning, and people started coming to me for kind of advice when they saw like I put on a bit of weight, put a muscle, but that's
Yeah.
when I really got a passion. Then I started helping people. I was always been a job where being told what to do, and I hated that. It
No,
was like
I don't like that too much either.
or working just a Saturday job for a neighbour, and there was no kind of structure to it or future. Really, it was almost cash in hand. So it was nice to have that kind of feeling where people actually came to me for once for help, and then started progressing with it. I mean, the first year was quite easy in college. Like it was just, I had a bit of a background in it. Like I had a bit of kind of base knowledge, so some of the things were quite easy to get through. But it was the second year when we started delving into advanced anatomy and definitely the more specific work. It was kind of difficult for me. I think I actually dropped out for like 3 months at the start.
I think in my college degree, half my year had to repeat anatomy at least once, if not twice.
I think that anatomy for me was always quite interesting, and I found it quite easy. It was the definitely the classwork, the step aerobics, and all that stuff where I didn't need. Just never good at that. I wasn't a people's person. I could never just put on a smile and like
No.
dance with 20 people. I was never. It wasn't my goal to in the college to be that person.
Yeah.
But I went back and took out the subjects I didn't need. I was able to get it. It was just they force fed you with like 100 case studies the very first week and showed you what you had to do. Kind of put me off a bit, but when I kind of broke them all up into kind of five every 5 weeks, five every so often, it was easier enough. But um, the powerlifting side came kind of just at the end of college,
Mm.
where I was kind of in it more for building muscle, but I wasn't gaining enough weight or size at the same time. So I was eating quite well, we'll say, like everything was lean, everything was brown food, and lots of vegetables. I was getting lean, but I wasn't getting any much stronger.
Yeah.
Then I started hanging around with some bigger lads, and they were telling me like, you gotta learn how to eat. And I am. And I was like, I'm eating loads. Like I'm eating lots of like low cal stuff. So
Yeah.
got me on to like, throw a bit of extra ice cream in here and there with your shake, and
Yeah.
lots of stuff like that. And then when I finished college, I found it hard to get actually a job. That was the hard part.
That's the part
Um,
they don't tell you.
yeah, nobody was hiring without experience, and I was trying to say to them, like I know you might hear it all the time, but I have a passion for this, blah blah blah. But it's just about space. They wanted to make money out of you immediately with having no clients. It wasn't feasible for them.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave up. I went back. I went to the security degree, and like just a weekend thing. And I met a powerlifter there, Alan, who kind of coached me for a bit. And I was training up in Atlas, I think it was called, or what's it called, the arena in Tala.
Right. Yeah, I think I've heard of that before.
Yeah. And then I started doing competitions there. He kind of brought me along for my first IDFK back in like 2013 or 14, I think it was. And then I started getting really into it. I was only like an 85 kg probably at the time. I was in the kind of 90 class. And I wanted to get bigger and bigger. I wasn't really obsessed with getting seriously stronger, but I was always wanted to be bigger because I had a kind of a body dysmorphia thing growing up where I always wanted to be bigger. And every time I see myself, sometimes I just go, oh, I could be bigger, I could be bigger. But I think at the point now where I'm about 117 kilos, so I was about nearly 60 kilos, added weight over 10 years. So not too
Wow.
reckless, but if you put it down like maybe a pound a week or something, that adds up to what.
Yeah.
I guess I just kind of got more into the strength side more and learned. Kind of, I wasn't really copying programs. I was kind of trial and error for myself for my own programming. Like I bought programs, I copied them off friends, like Ed Cohen or anybody,
Mm.
and ended up just wrecking myself. It was the volume was too much. It wasn't specific towards me. They were giving me accessories that I didn't need, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lockout, they give you like power off the ground and stuff. Where I've had like upright positioning in my squat. They give me kind of like some pause stuff, stuff all the opposite work. So
Yeah.
I kind of started learning more just through kind of the internet and Instagram, and obviously asking people who are more knowledgeable than me, just kind of what I need to work on. But it was definitely, if I didn't ask for help, I probably wouldn't be having a conversation here with you. I would be
Yeah,
kind of like,
absolutely. And that's
yeah,
why coaching is so important for so many people to get.
yeah. Like I'm still trying to get my own kind of coach eventually.
Huh.
I think I'll take things to another level eventually. Maybe like I think it was probably my last year, probably fully bulking. I kind of might maintain my weight and see what I can actually get into weight wise, stay at a certain 110 kilos and just progress with strength rather than kind of putting on the bulk because definitely the load is being felt when I'm walking around and stuff.
Yeah. And just wanted to reverse to something we were talking about there a while ago, because I always find it really interesting what is like the tipping point for people to get into lifting. I think there's a large section of the population who it's just never going to be something that they're going to be interested in, which is totally fine. But I
Yeah,
find it interesting, like you're saying you were 22 or 23 when you got into it.
yeah.
And I'm assuming that you would have been exposed to it at some point when you were in your teens. Maybe you would have gone into a gym before. Like, what was your opinion on it back then?
And I maybe went once when I was like on a guest pass when I was 16 or 17. Definitely intimidating, like having a clue.
Yeah.
I was kind of like a headless chicken. I was just kind of standing behind my mate the whole time.
Yeah.
It kind of put me off actually because it was just too many lads around you, too many people, bigger lads. Well, I consider big back then. I was only like 20
Yeah.
stone.
You look
So
back now and you're like, oh, they were like 75
yeah,
kilos.
exactly. And probably yeah. And I guess it was that like I wasn't ever consistent at all. Like I kind of just if I was bored in the weekend and asked for a guest pass and just go up on a Saturday,
Yeah.
get an absolute well what a pump was back then, and then I'd be done for like a month or two. But I never had a full membership really.
Mm.
I always had like maybe a little bit of weight at home, but I think it was one of those York barbell kind of things. The ones
Yeah.
you get in Argos. My dad had some old dumbbells as well when he was growing up. He gave me a 7 kilo when I was about 12 years old or something. Started messing with it, but it was definitely the tipping point was definitely where I did like enjoy the feeling after the workout,
Yeah.
and I realized I kind of associate that with after like kind of all the poor lifestyle choices I made. Wanted to go back to that feeling and actually progress with it and see how far I could take it. So I
Hmm.
started making little goals that the guy originally started training with, Paul. started wanting to make goals, be bigger and stronger than him. And then I
Yeah.
went on to another friend, Shane, who was bigger than him, bigger and stronger than him. We kind of trained for a good while together, actually. And then more mates where they were like in the 120 class, you know, I kind of
Mhm.
becoming stronger than them now, which is nice. It's a good feeling. So I was kind of going the right way. And now I think I probably have to go to a whole new gym to probably kind of get that stimulation again, that kind of spark. I still have it. It just I want someone to train with properly. I want
You're
like
like
a kind of
the real life version of that ad of your man doing the bench press and his trainer tells him there are no more weights.
I just yeah. I just want to like have a little kind of team around me in a way.
Yeah, you
But,
need. I think you need that. I haven't reached. I'm at the point where I know that I train better with training partners,
yeah,
and at least with someone who's kind of at a similar strength level, if not stronger than me.
yeah,
Because I found in a
yeah,
training environment like where there's people who are, looking at you do even 100 kilo deadlifts and think that that's like really impressive. That all of
yeah,
a sudden starts playing on what you expect from yourself. Then,
exactly, yeah. I don't. Yeah, I want to be definitely around something. Though. I want to go for like a 300 deadlift eventually.
yeah,
Like a 200 bench definitely is achievable at the moment. It's just by myself. Well, with COVID, I know when gyms open might be different, but you know, unracking stuff yourself and
yeah, it starts getting dangerous.
the pin heights can be just an inch off, and I've been trapped before.
So, sorry, not to interrupt you, but just for anybody listening, what are your lifts at the moment?
Um, I've only been working with 180. That's all I have at home. But I've been my best lift is like a 240 squat, probably like a 260 dead, and like a 185 bench touch and go. I've just
Damn.
paused recently 180, but I know I could probably touch and go 190 without a pause. But I haven't really tested my deadlift in a long time. But I know the way my reps are going that 180 feels like an empty bar. Um, and I think I expect 270 when I get back into the gym, and then
Hmm.
a bit of programming. At about 10 kilos at the end of the year. Well, we'll see what happens. Get up to 275 at least at the end of the year. But 300's to go. And then I'll stay as natural as possible. I eventually will have to creep into another level.
Yeah.
But that's a personal choice of mine. But for me, I definitely just keep earning it first. I'll do everything natural. I want to have like a 200 bench, 300 deadlift, and like a 260 squat. They'd be
Those
my
serious numbers.
yeah. Well, compared to like lads who are in their teens at the moment, they're probably that's just warm up weight for some of them.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's all relative, and
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a person who has a coach or has a certain club to go to, every day where they have a certain times they have to lift this time.
yeah,
Everything's structured, I just kind of go with how I feel. I go with the flow. Like if sometimes if 180 is not there every day in the bench, I wouldn't ever even achieve it. Like I wouldn't even bother trying to do it.
yeah,
I just kind of had like having a bit of freedom. But when I was in training for competitions, I'd have to do it, and that's where I always get injured. Is where I didn't feel like doing 180, but I was always if I don't do this today, I'm not going to get it for the day. So,
yeah.
and that's where all the niggles started. So I started learning just to kind of listen to my body and let the ego go. I started just backing off. I mean, every niggle in the book, I pulled every muscle. At one point I couldn't even bench the bar.
Yeah.
I've gone back to basics so many times, but each time come back a little stronger.
Um, I'm gonna discuss injury and training with you in a little while. Um, but the next thing I wanted to ask you about was so we're both coaches who work primarily with people who are kind of at the intro level to lifting weights and health and fitness. Do you have like a general approach that you tend to take with people who are coming into you that are brand new off the bat and have never done anything before?
I know it's quite biased, but I do quite push strength on them as just having a base. I think everyone needs to be strong.
Yeah,
I'm not big on like this whole blast class boot camp kind of style thing, just
yeah,
to feel like they've done something. So I make sure that they'll have all just the base in every movement. Like they don't have to like barbell squat, they don't want it. They need to goblet squats and stuff.
mm,
Um, but I have to make sure that before they touch the barbell, that they have the range of motion to put mobility for it. But it's definitely like I kind of break it down into one strength movement per day, whether it be an accessory for the strength movement, development for that group, the muscle group that day, and then maybe like some conditioning just to kind of just a little blast again, like maybe some ball slam, superset with ropes, kind of thinking like for 5 minutes at the end.
yeah.
I'm not a really kind of a specific core kind of workout either. Just
Yeah.
kind of let them move properly. They're doing proper movements, full range of motion, right loading. It's just perfect. Like, I guess what they want, what the way they want to look is depends on what they do outside of the gym. You know,
Yeah.
come to me and just kind of have some strength. Um, I don't go for that whole muscle tone thing, whatever that means for some people. Like,
Yeah.
um, but that's the way I kind of do it. And I have everyone have a specific program. No one's doing the same program as someone else.
Hmm.
Like I had a lad, he just finished a 10-week program there, pretty much doubled all his lifts. So we were doing a lot of park work, and I ended up kind of just going into his little private gym and just doing a little max day after a bit of programming.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I kind of as a coach definitely want to push the strength. I just see more benefits in that than kind of just going in and pumping up the body and leaving.
Absolutely. Well, I think we'd probably both agree that it's the one thing that, especially when you're a beginner, will positively affect all the other attributes. So I see
Yeah,
people come in and like without doing any conditioning, just getting stronger on stuff like squats and deadlifts, they immediately get fitter because it's easier for them to do everything.
yeah. I mean, the stronger you get, even if you want to go towards the bodybuilding stuff, it's gonna make your hypertrophy range even better. Like
Hmm.
you can have a base first, but like even some of the best bodybuilders start as powerlifters or all strength training.
Yeah, that's I don't know if you encounter this, but a big misconception that I encounter, especially with young lads that come to me who are specifically looking to build muscle, is that they're they're getting a lot of their ideas on training from people who are advanced bodybuilders, and so
Yeah,
they're doing all this like supersets and drop sets, and it's all stuff with like really light weights that is just kind of chasing the pump.
yeah,
And like the thing I try to get across to them is like, would you not think of maybe looking into what those guys did for the first 10 or 15 years of their career?
yeah. I mean, definitely for me when I did that starting out, it got nowhere but
Yeah.
big up injuries. And look, I know over the years the rep range of my hypertrophy has dropped so much now. There's no need to be going in and doing like 20 sets on the arms and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, 10 by 10 is even seen as way too much at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's 5 sets twice a week is enough to stimulate enough growth and those kind of things. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I read recently. But yeah, definitely the whole pain, no gain kind of motto has to stop.
Yeah.
That's gone out the window pretty fast. And everyone just killing themselves and getting nowhere. And then as a beginner, I never had nutrition kind of back then either. It was just lifting, and I wasn't doing anything afterwards. I actually kind of just took it as a joke in a way.
Mhm.
I thought I'd do enough, that'd be it. But I wasn't getting anywhere with it.
Yeah.
More progressing until I actually kind of pushed. Then I started meeting other people, but definitely I need to look into more beginners. Need to have a bit more guidance.
I find that that's the first real plateau that I see people hit after they've been training for a little while, maybe a few months, is nutrition based, because you can really drain out pretty good beginner gains with a crappy diet for a while,
Yeah.
and then your body just hits a point where it's like, nah, I can't recover from this if you're not going to put the fuel in.
Definitely, yeah. I think it was 2 years for me. 2013 was definitely the hard point where I was lean, like I think my almost skinny fat nearly in a way.
Yeah.
I was still 82, but my composition was awful because I kind of went too mad with the calories, where my body fat was getting higher than my strength. So it was like I usually have to keep a ratio, my strength to weight ratio. So I started going down. So I need to kind of really look at it a bit more specifically towards my goals. Like so, I try to keep like 80 kilos over my body weight for a bench and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is nearly around 200 at the moment. But that's my goal. So I'm gonna keep it around there, and definitely want to get like to always keep around 2.5 times body weight. It's got to be goal as well. But definitely for beginners, the nutrition thing is huge, and I think the earlier you start, you're not exposed to enough. You're relying on other people to cook for you and eat, buy you food and stuff. It's just not feasible. I know
Yeah.
when if I was in my teens, and I was still getting home cooked food and stuff. Kind of ask your parents to be buying you loads of chicken and loads of protein shakes and stuff all day round. So you kind of it's hard to when you get what you're dealt.
Yeah. I end up telling people, you like the number one thing you could do that would serve you way better than try to find some kind of quote unquote perfect diet or meal plan, is to actually just learn how to cook for yourself in a way that's nutritious and fairly tasty. Like learning how to use spices and stuff like that that don't require you to have to dump a load of ketchup on top of a steak to make it taste good.
Yeah. I was the same. I was like, as I said, we started quite late, so I kind of had that already open to me. But yeah, I was eating, grilled everything, grilled chicken, eggs, spinach, everything, just on pita breads. That's all I used to eat every day. Sweet potatoes, porridge, just the kind of
Mm.
pro meals.
Yeah.
And all it was doing, I was getting leaner, but it wasn't my goal. So I was kind of getting annoyed about that. I wasn't getting stronger or bigger, I was getting
Yeah.
leaner. But that's someone's goal as well. I just need to, my goal was different. And that's what I mean. Other people's goals, they try to push them on you as well. They say,
Yeah.
oh, you look better leaner. It's like, no, that's not my goal.
It's funny, I lost quite a bit of weight over the first lockdown because I didn't have access to any weights. Or I think the heaviest weight that I had was a weight vest that went up to 30 kilos. So I knew that I'd be looking at doing sets of 20 to 30 reps, just to like really push myself. So I decided I may as well try to get something out of the lockdown by dropping some body fat.
Yeah,
And I dropped like maybe 9 kilos or so. Um, and it's funny because everybody was saying like, "Oh, you look so much better," but I was actually really pissed off because even though I was happy enough to have lost some body fat, I lost a huge amount of strength, and that to me was more annoying than the happiness of being at a lower body fat. Now, to
yeah,
loads of people, that's like mind blowing. They're like, "Why would you care about losing 20
yeah.
kilos off your bench press if you're like a few digits lower in your body fat percentage?"
I guess it's because people growing up, people who want to be lean now grew up quite bulky, I'd say.
Mm,
So, and we were the opposite. I was always quite skinny, so I had that opposite mentality. I want to get bigger and bigger. Eventually, yeah, when I get too far, I'll cut. But for now, I haven't reached my goals.
yeah,
People will push their kind of goals on you, going, "Oh, you should try this and do that. You look so much better." Or bodybuilding. Bodybuilders is super bodybuilders, super powerlifters. It's like you need to be around your own kind, and the rest of them just going backwards. Um,
yeah,
they kind of brainwash you a bit. But yeah, if I lost a kilo, I think mentally, I probably still function the same training, but mentally, I feel that kilo lost. It's just a play in my head.
yeah.
And like my highest I reached was 118, kind of fluctuated. I think I'm about 116 and a half, 117. You know, and when I see that kind of weight, it's solid. It makes me train a bit better, and that's just my mentality I have. That and most lads would say the same. Big powerlifter lads, like maybe Scott Manson said that if his calories are off by a little bit a day, he just won't train the same, couldn't function.
Yeah.
But you're saying like, well, you're 90 kilos and you lost. You're 90 kilos the
I
heaviest
was
year.
90, no, I was 95, which is still like the heaviest I've ever been. And I went down to 80, 86 maybe.
What do you know?
I'm nearly 95 again. I'm 90, 93 and a half, 94.
I watched the videos, man. The strength's definitely coming back up big time, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's all just down to, well, one, actually having access to proper equipment again, training with a training partner who's at similar strength to me. So we can kind of have a bit of competitiveness between each other. And then just not having to deprive myself of fuel by worrying about getting leaner, like actually just being able to eat. And I find for myself, actually, if I do go a little bit overboard on calories in a week, say I get a couple of takeaways or something like that, it's quite easy for me to drop the tiny bit of body fat that I might have gained by just going for a few walks and eating a bit healthier without impacting my strength. Whereas if I do like a big cut and lose even like 5 kilos, my strength just goes way down and it takes ages for me to get it back up.
Yeah, like I said, my body just wants to fall back to where it was maybe all the time.
Yeah. That's why I don't know how you operate with deloads, but I've talked about it a few times on the podcast, and like my opinions on deloads has changed loads from like when I was in college, and most of the research would be saying, oh, you should deload every 3 to 6 weeks. There's actually not even really like that much research on it, but whether it's just a weird individual thing for me, I don't know. But I've found that when I take like a proper deload in terms of cutting like 50% volume, intensity, whatever, I lose loads of strength Whereas from experiments in the last couple of years now, I found if I just go at like a little bit of a more conservative, slower pace with gaining strength, I don't need to be as drastic in my deloads and I don't lose as much strength overall then.
That's true. My deloads I've never got right ever as well. Like my deloads have just ended up me starting a whole new cycle again, like terribly.
Yeah.
Just reached all the I've missed all the goal numbers I was meant to hit because of deload. Even when the last competitions, 2019, I was meant to be going to, it was GPC. I was on track the whole time, and then I was had a week deload and just missed everything. Like I
Yeah.
missed upcoming weights. And, I just played my head then. I don't know why. Like everything was going well. It might have been just the stimulation wasn't there. You know, being around heavyweight all the time. Just that week kind of killed it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. If I was deloading, if I had to, I rarely do a deload. I kind of just do my programming right. I stopped going anywhere near kind of 100%. Like I'd say around 90 all the time.
Yeah.
Just for injury prevention more than anything. I've done enough to keep me the body stimulated around heavyweight. I don't want to go down low or do an anti fatigue kind of first 2 week anti fatigue. Or just the numbers just don't add up the same at the end. You know, they might work for a beginner because you have that movie gains, but when you're trying to put like 5 kilos onto a lift, the numbers have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I feel like that 1 to 2 weeks where I'm trying to copy someone else's, or I get advice off, well, first 2 weeks, let the last cycle run out of your body, get the anti fatigue in, and then build back up. I'm like 10 kilos behind that number at the end nearly. I'm doing lifts in the last cycle that were easy, now they feel hard. So that kind of that's right now I'm doing my own thing. I'm just each week by week. I listen to my body. I won't deload. I'll just back off. I'll never take a specific deload. I'm not deloading for anything really anyway. I have
Yeah.
no max test coming up or competition, so a bit of freedom in that keeps you a bit more positive. Not putting pressure on myself to max out anytime soon.
I definitely agree with all of that. And one thing that I wanted to ask you was, I know we kind of talked about the nutrition thing, which would probably be one of the mistakes you see beginners make, but what would be kind of like the biggest mistakes that you see people make? Maybe things that they've tried before they've come to you for training that you just think like you were just completely wasting your time there.
Going straight to probably what are seen as the advanced lifts in a way. So going straight to like a barbell squat straight away,
Mm-hmm.
going straight to like deadlift or pull mobility. I think it's just from copying other friends. The mistake they made is just following the wrong program and just not doing enough of the baby work at the start.
Yeah.
Like, goblet squat. I still do goblet squats every now and then.
Yep.
Even like a front squat comes before a barbell, a back squat. Learn
Yeah,
all
it's a great
that.
way of teaching people.
Go straight to the end before you even get to the start. Like,
Yeah.
and then like I've trained with teams before, and all they want to do is like I'm training rugby teams and their teams. I've trained like individuals. All they want to do is go straight to the big lifts. They kind of feel like they're pressure. I think it's because their friends in the rugby team are lifting this, and they just want to keep up with them or show off. But I think I've had a rare if you want to learn from the basics straight from ground zero up. Definitely the biggest mistake, and I even made myself, and I know a lot of it was just going straight to a barbell squat, falling over, knees falling in, not even
Yep.
in depth. Deadlift completely around your back. I think I wrecked my back the very first time I deadlift. I put on 130 or something.
Yeah.
Didn't move and just felt the pop.
The only time I've ever hurt anything deadlifting was when I was brand new to training, and I was doing mostly CrossFit workouts at the time. And I'd say the most I'd ever deadlifted before at that point was like 80, 90 kilos. And there was a workout where we were doing like 100-kilo deadlifts for like 4 or 5 reps, and then do a run around like a track and come back and do more reps of the deadlift. And on one of those sets, I felt like a pop in my neck.
I think that was the first time I deadlifted was with two lads, and they were strong enough. Well, back then they were strong, but they put on 130, and like I think I did like 2 sets before that, like went like 80, 100, and then they put on 130. And I just remember I felt everything moving but the bar, moving. I was like, go on, go on. And it must have looked like, one of those dogs taking a shit. And I
Yeah.
just felt like a bang. And they're like, oh, yeah, really had it, mate. I was like, and then in my head, and after I was like, oh, Dennis must be bad for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually, that's where all this misconception comes from with most lifting, heavy lifting is people having a bad experience and claiming that it's the lifting,
Yeah.
just that lift per se is what's bad for you, not the fact that the dog should perform.
Yeah, training like an idiot is bad for you, not picking something up off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all beginners make mistakes. I guess it's how you go forward as well. Like,
Yeah.
I make mistakes now. I look back. I've changed my bench grip. I was going quite close for who I was as a bencher, and now I just moved it out with finger width, and things feel a lot better. Took me a while to adjust, but that's what I have to do with the body. When you change your stance with for a
Yeah.
squat, you have to build back up in that stance again. You can't just change it overnight and then expect to hit the gains.
Yeah, I think like most of the people I know who've come around to smarter ways of training, they've all gotten hurt at some point. And I
Yeah, I
think
think
that
it's just part of it. Like, it's kind of it's inevitable nearly if you're pushing yourself.
yeah, and I don't advocate people going out of their way to do stupid stuff and get themselves hurt, but I think with men in particular, there's a stubbornness and kind of arrogance there that sometimes it's not humbled until you actually do break something and you
Yeah,
realize that actually maybe what you're doing is kind of dumb and there's a smarter way to do it.
yeah.
And
I
there's
mean,
there's very few people I've encountered that haven't had to have a slight pull or strain before they kind of take a step back and say, okay, maybe I need to actually get a bit of
yeah.
advice about this.
The thing about that is, yeah, a lot of people just tend to curse and just walk away from it altogether and really
Yeah,
blame
I think it's
blame it. I
dangerous.
can't do it. It's not for me. It's not built that way. Tall people can't deadlift and stuff.
Yeah,
I know, like, I try not. I definitely don't push it too much with my clients. Like, I don't want them getting constantly injured and saying like, "Oh, it's the only way to go forward is to feel this and get used to it." But definitely for me, it's happened, and it's happened mostly warming up. It's never happened on max loads ever really.
yeah.
It just happened having an off day. I was underestimating my warm up weights. Um, definitely wasn't looking after my mobility for a long time.
Mm.
Like, I was getting so much knee pain and specifically thinking it was my knee, where you know I had no pretty much zero dorsiflexion going on. I was still trying to squat, and just all the quad tendon and all the patellofemoral pain was just killing me. I was
Yeah.
always like foam rolling and stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
never helped.
That actually that segues pretty nicely into the next thing I wanted to chat to you about, which is just the issues we both encounter with the misinformation that people are fed from
Yeah.
personal trainers, physios, anybody working in the area of movement around injury and pain and what they should be doing to address it. Um, I mean, I'm sure you encounter similar things, but for me, like it's at the point where I had to get to a point where I found a couple of physios that I really trusted and realized they knew their stuff. And then from that point, anytime I had a client or somebody that was asking me advice that had pain, I was like, just go to this person, because I honestly can't trust the general competency of the industry for you to just go to a randomer, because
Oh,
ultimately people come back and they start saying stuff like, oh, so and so told me I can never deadlift again because I got a twinge in my back.
it's it's definitely like coaches. It's hard to find a good person to trust, especially if you're not educated enough. You believe if you believe anything they say, really, because they see as they're seen as a higher power. They're almost put up there with like doctors and stuff, like GPs, where what
Yeah,
they say must be gospel. I mean, I was doing that as well for a while. Listening to the wrong things and told never to bench again because it kept hurting my shoulder. Where they never told me specifically, what was wrong with me and what I
yeah,
should do and how to adapt the movement rather than eliminate it. The issue is just people rely too much on the short term benefits.
yeah,
Definitely, they felt great after massage or acupuncture, dry needling, stuff like that. Any kind of sort of manual therapy kind of. Um, they end up in that cycle of every 6 weeks going back and complaining the same issue. And like I've said before, if you go to a garage, bring your car every 6 weeks for the same issue, are you actually fixing the problem?
yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
It's like you get fed up with the mechanic, and you go find someone else who can fix it.
Yeah,
Which would be kind of me and you because they've no really education. I'm not bashing physios at all, like, but we can't go around diagnosing people, but they don't know how to really progress with the strength side of things, which they're learning now at the moment. I've heard there's a lot of courses. that are opening up for physios to learn how to progress.
Yeah.
It's just a conveyor belt system where they can't actually build a rapport or keep in contact that much with a client because it's just too much money. It's like 50 or 75 euro, €100 half an hour. No one's going to keep paying that. So you really highly depend on or expect a lot more from the clients at home to do, or send them on to me or you and keep feeding back, the physio. But I
Yeah.
think when they get a short term feeling of relief, they kind of just dwell on that and think that's the way out, and not realizing that why is the issue there in the first place. It's if you sore knee, it's not just you don't go directly to the knee. Um, treat the issue or treat the person, not the issue is kind of the main thing that people are doing now. Sometimes just talking to someone and find out the root cause of why chronic, especially chronic pain, like
Yeah.
lower back pain. Like you saw that video before where a doctor said like, strokes 95% of the time there's nothing wrong with them.
Hmm.
It's really down to the person and for how they perceive pain. Um,
Yeah, like I mean, I would usually try to advise people against going to get like an MRI scan unless there's really some kind of indication that something bad is going on there, because especially if people respond differently to the idea of pain and injury, and everybody has different pain tolerances. And there's a subsection of people out there who are like pain catastrophizers. And if they go get a scan and somebody tells them that there's a sign of spinal degradation,
yeah,
um, there's a chance that person is going to be scared off doing any kind of loading of their spine. And they're going to miss the context that anybody over the age of probably 30, 35 is going to have some kind of significant spinal degradation. Sorry, I cut out there.
yeah, you could have just after spinal degradation.
Well, no, I was just saying that like there's some people who are going to be terrified to be told
Yeah,
that, and the context of that information isn't going to be relayed where they should be told that, yeah, you have spinal degradation, but so does pretty much anybody your age or older, regardless whether they do deadlift or sports or
it's
not.
natural part of the aging of the body.
Yeah,
Just the wordings they use are just scared people so much. And it's like the nocebo effect. It's they're creating issues that weren't there by just planting these ideas in their head and who they are as a person,
mm,
which makes pain highly subjective. Um,
absolutely. Like there are people out there who, like, if you tell them that they should expect to feel pain when they do a certain movement, they're going to create that in their head because that's what they're expecting.
yeah, exactly. That's what it is. I guess familiar pain is not really an issue. You kind of familiarize yourself with it, you kind of get understand a bit more. You know what it is. It's just people who are almost uh, they find that there's no way out. It's when the fatigue, the stress levels get so high, the sensitivity gets higher,
Yeah.
and they feel like they've tried everything. Where trying everything isn't like just 6 weeks of rehab exercises. This whole how long recovery takes is like how long is a piece of string.
Mm.
Simply having a nig in your knee could take up to a year to get rid of, but the process is what's going to make it better. Instead of just going straight to some sort of foam rolling before each session, like you shouldn't be going there to a gym prioritizing foam rolling before you lift. Like the issues there, you're there to lift. That's what's going to make it better. You got to look at the body, why the restrictions are there, how to fix them. Instead
Yeah.
of just going for the short term benefits and running straight off to your comments like it's like your mommy kissing your boo boo. Going and getting changing their perception is like uh, good pain or bad pain blocking out good pain, or good pain blocking out bad pain, that kind of way.
Yeah.
Then when someone pushes in you, you go, oh, that feels like it's good pain though. It's like what they're doing is just changing their perception of pain. Structurally, nothing to do. Like an 8 stone woman with her thumb on my back will not do anything to me. It
Yeah.
might be a little bit better, but
You'd
nothing's
want to
changed.
drive a JCB over you or something.
Exactly.
I think as well, like there's this obsession with the idea of being pain free. And I think it's actually like there's a really irresponsible um, section of like the physical therapy, physiotherapy, coaching community or whatever who are selling that idea to people that like if you just foam roll or you just do mobility or you just do this corrective exercise, that you should expect to be pain free. And I don't think anybody should expect to be 100% pain free. Like sometimes shit just hurts and there's not necessarily an explanation for it. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
the issue
Yeah.
comes
Pain is
in
very
when like
subjective.
that is actually impacting your ability to function, to be able to sleep, to be able to have like normal daily movements. Um and like pain isn't always necessarily an issue, and sometimes you need to work into pain to get that desensitized. And I think that's something that people have been made terrified of.
Yeah, it's the pain threshold that some people can't go through is what's stopping them from a full recovery.
Yeah.
There is, everyone has to go through a bit of pain to get to the better side. I mean, when I tore my ACL twice. First time, definitely, I did nothing about it. Like, it was way too sore. As in, like, I was just wasn't educated enough on it.
Yeah.
The physio or I went to, he's trying to make me, do box squats, stuff and balance on one leg, but I just wouldn't have it. That was just me not open to the idea of it. I wasn't very ready to go past it. So the
Yeah.
second time I did it, I was already, I think I was already a coach. I think it was 2016. I was trying to attempt some Olympic lifts, and obviously zero mobility, and completely tore my ACL as well with the meniscus. I think it come hand in hand, and
Really? That's
I actually fixed it,
what part of the lift did it tear on?
getting under it. My knee collapsed inwards, and it was
Really?
missed.
It's interesting because from what I have read, I think the majority of ACL injuries are when the leg is like closer to extended, and then it's like internally rotated or um
Just remember,
adducted.
yeah, it was already kind of really unstable at the time because I never had surgery on it, so it was already so wobbly. I
Yeah.
remember just as I was just extending up, as I was trying to get it, I just landed weird on the left foot, and the whole thing twisted, and then my knee kind of went inwards, and
Yeah.
then hit the ground. Bar went on it then, popped it even more. But yeah, the rehab that time, I definitely open to go through more pain to get better. Like so, I actually had to force extension on my leg to get it back. The hamstring was showing so much that I was walking on a bent leg.
Mm.
I didn't go for any kind of manual therapy kind of routes. I just went to kind of working on my stability first.
Yeah.
Definitely range of motion. But I had to wait till the swelling was just so long. They say like if it lasts a certain length of time, you have to get it removed. But I kind of just kept pumping the leg as much as I could, trying to push all the fluid around.
Mm.
It took a lot longer than if I had went to professional, but I was willing this time, a bit more educated, and it was familiar to me. It wasn't a scare, so I knew what kind of to expect.
Yeah.
With maybe a better recovery. And again, when I went to the first guy, he said I wouldn't squat again. He'd never squat with a torn ACL.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
So we've bashed the silly approaches to this stuff, but I suppose like the main issue is that it's easy for people like you and I now with experience and knowledge to be able to identify the people who don't know what they're talking about, or was either that or else they know what they're doing is wrong and they're just kind of trying to make an easy buck out of people by getting them to come down over and over again.
that's
What
what
do
it
you
is.
think? Like, I mean, my big thing is like how can we actually help people who don't know the ins and outs of the truth about this stuff, to be able to find people who are actually going to give them good information. That's one of the reasons, probably the main reason why I started doing the podcast, was to get people on who I feel know what they're talking about, so that the patterns can kind of start to emerge of like what people uh tend to be saying. Like the messages that all the people have had on the podcast have said tend to have pretty unifying elements. They don't overcomplicate stuff. They have personal experience with training and coaching people, um, and they're not trying to sell people on like a magic bullet solution to things.
That's what it is. I think it's how I know is just these wild claims that someone makes. And like, if you're a skeptic, like, you just always pick out these red flags. It's just when you're talking to a client, I'm not sure if they feel like a physio is better than a trainer, blah blah. They have to listen to them. Don't go against the physio's word or doctor's word. You know, it's hard to get across that point that I'm not saying it's wrong or for them to say anything. I know that everyone has good intention of trying to help someone, but just the methods can be seen as a bit kind of out there with some people. Like, I try to promote strength. They try to promote a pain-free, short-term kind of window for them, but that window for them is to move better and start loading that movement in time,
Yeah.
which in turn is going to make them stronger and um, less risk of injury in the future. The I guess it is hard for someone even like me because only the past probably 2 years I've started to have my eyes open when I met a client who's a physio and now a personal trainer, so he's gonna definitely make it. He's
Mm.
highly knowledgeable. He started telling me about these practices that people make, and I definitely just keep people in the pain cycle almost on purpose. He
Mm.
said they should be doing what we're doing is creating a strength body and stop keep people in that kind of vigilant state.
Yeah.
So this whole structuralism thing where you have to walk a certain way and sit a certain way, and it's just what's keeping people in this kind of a hypervigilant state, walking around thinking about their left or right footing, sitting around their chest up, not extended
Yeah.
position the whole time. The body moves in different ways. It has to be comfortable each way. It's okay if you're getting a bit of lower back pain from sitting for an hour straight.
Yeah.
Telling you to get up and move for a second. The body wants movement. Doesn't mean you're getting injury. And then it depends on the person. The amount of pain they're feeling doesn't correlate to the amount of damage either. So like, a migraine might be murdering someone's head, but then there's not much damage being done.
Yeah.
Whereas someone can fully rupture an ACL and have no pain at all.
Yeah.
That kind of way. So it really depends on the person, but to get them to try and teach someone that way is harder than it looks because they've kind of been brainwashed already to
Yeah.
seeing a physio and doctors a higher power. They come back with €200 pair of insoles for their hip pain and stuff, and foam rolling until the cows come home.
Yeah.
Then they're still inventing new techniques. It's not this mixture of all three. It's like a peanut foam roller vibrating thing, and all three ones. And the vibration therapy mixed in with the kind of what is it the foam roller and the peanut all mixed together. It's like just trying to reinvent, just trying to keep people make more money out of them, and people will buy it. It'll
They
cost them
will. Yeah. I suppose like there's people. One thing I realized after working in the industry for a couple of years is that like the blame is on two sides. I would have always been, there's people scamming people out of money, and that's, ethically bankrupt, and that's still true. But there's also people who are quite happy to buy into that because they're not ready to make the harder long-term choice yet. And as long as people are willing to go for the easy quick fix that just requires them spending money as opposed to spending time and energy, there's always going to be a market for those people. But I think you're dead right about everything that you were saying there in terms of people just they need to get away from this mindset of their body being this extremely fragile thing that can't adapt to things. And yeah, sometimes you're going to feel pain, but as opposed to thinking, oh, I've hurt myself, maybe look at, right, maybe that's my body telling me that it's being overstressed, being put in this posture or doing this exercise. Maybe I need to adapt the exercise. Maybe I need to try a different posture for a while. Maybe I just need to move a little bit more generally. And that could just be the answer. It doesn't have to be that your body is out of alignment or your IT band is too tight or you're not doing enough foam rolling.
I mean, people know me, kind of like I have a go with a lot about all these kind of treatment. Well, I'll say don't say treatments at all. Tools, we'll say, because that's all they are in a way. Is a tool used like so. Annual hormone therapy. It works highly off your kind of placebo effect, your way you perceive it.
Yeah.
But that tool is only what's going to make you better at what you're meant to do, which is lifting through a full range of motion, moving through a full range of motion without any restrictions. Um, and that short-term window is when you should be doing it. But I said before, like, don't use it as a treatment for your pain.
Yeah.
something you got to ask as well, like why? Keep asking whys. Eventually comes to root cause. It's like, yeah, the body's not strong enough.
Yeah.
Like, if you're sitting in a position or like you're cramping all the time, your hamstring cramping. It's just a body saying that, yeah, it needs to get a bit stronger. Blah blah. RDLs, every now and then, thing like RDLs, stuff like that. Don't go off and massage it, kind of static stretching all the time. It's just not the way to do it. It's always going to keep coming back for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think on the whole, as long as they're not pinching a nerve doing it, if somebody wants to do foam rolling and they feel like it helps them, it probably will. I think
Yeah,
the problem comes in when like it's used as a crutch and it's like I have to do 20 minutes of foam rolling before every session to feel okay.
they'll never come off when you start relying on something. And I've had people say like, no, I think it was the deadlifts, or I think it was this. I better stop doing them. It's like it's just because you feel some stress there. It doesn't mean it's damage. It's just maybe a bad case of DOMS or
Yeah.
anything. But once they feel pain in the lower back, that's gone. Their whole confidence in the movement's gone. When confidence drops, then you're definitely going to get a niggle or an injury.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing is definitely when people are experiencing a lot of pain, is just to build their confidence and definitely try to build their trust with you. I think building the trust is so hard because I know physio, anyone, doctors, and you're always seen as the higher power, but sometimes if you're like, you've been listening and you're in a flying, I look be a fly in the wall sometimes and listen to the advice they're actually given, just kind of question it.
Yeah.
They probably get the root cause. Deep down, most of them know what they should be doing and how long it takes. It's just hard to do that kind of work. The truth is boring for some people.
Yeah.
It doesn't get enough publicity. As we said before, like the most knowledgeable people have the least followers, but the people who make the wild claims have like 200,000, half a million, and look at their audience who are listening to all this,
Yeah.
spreading that word around. And like we make something that sounds just boring, but truthful. It's like, what are you on about?
Yeah.
You told me this. No, it definitely can't be right. So it's hard to just kind of gain trust with some people, and the cracks are around still doing it.
Well, look, I think, all we can do is keep putting out what we
Yeah,
think is genuine, honest information. And if people are ready to take it on board, then it should have a big impact on their life and then they'll be able to spread it to other people.
you just gotta know the difference between frustration and negativity because
Yeah.
that's what people call us. We're kind of not having a go, but trying to force the truth. Some people find it quite negative. It's just frustration of we hear it all the time. Your client probably she only said it, or he or she only says it once to you, but we've heard about 20 other times off other people. So
Yeah.
that's all it is. Really, at the end of the day, sometimes it's just frustration. We hear so much. It's like needs to start being making more people aware of it.
I think that we've probably covered a good bit there for people to digest.
Yeah.
I've noticed you've got a picture of your dog in the background as well.
Yeah. As Whiskey passed away about 2 years ago.
That's the exact same as Poppy, my dog there.
Yeah, we had to pay that fee, so keep it on me every time I'm doing the work.
So that's another reason why people should trust us. Anyone who likes dogs should be a good person.
Yeah, in my good books.
Listen, man, I want to thank you a lot for coming on and having that chat.
Yeah, it's my first time doing it, so I think I was not sure if I went blacked out, started rambling at one point, but definitely more. I completely winged this today, so.
I know the thing I like about the podcast format is that it caters to the rambling. That's kind of the feature of it,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to sound like a robot either. I'm reading out a book.
No, I think as well for our kind of message, I don't really put much effort into putting content up on Instagram anymore, aside from my own training and some clients' videos, because I actually don't think that medium really caters to the level of depth you need to go into to actually give people really good information. Whereas long form contents like this or articles, you can actually really get into the meat of stuff and people can digest it, because Instagram is made for pictures of people's abs and arses and short little reels that people can skim through.
Yeah, like nobody's gonna listen to a caption or something about foam rolling and stuff. It's not gonna get the same views as some of them con.
Yeah.
But yeah, my page now is just for my own lifting really. It's not even a business page. It's just a bit of education here there, the odd rant, somebody spark a thought, and then I'll put it up. But definitely won't get as much views as bench 180 or something like that. So
If people do want to follow you on there, what is your Instagram tag?
Big L Ray, big underscore L underscore Ray.
Cool.
So you can watch me get trapped under some lifts soon, I'd say.
Yeah,
But
I think it'll be good inspiration for people.
Bit of a laugh.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'd love to have you back on again at some point. We can drop some other topics to chat about. And until then, I'll be following your lifts and looking to see that 300 kilo.
Oh yeah, hopefully, man. Early next year, hopefully.
Nice one.
Sounds
Cool.
good.
Thanks a million for that, man.
Cheers, Kill.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
See you, man.